Hello, and welcome to Step Outside. I'm your host, Pete Curet, and today we're going to show you some of the best landscape people in their field and their projects. First up, they've won top honors from the Arizona Landscape Contractors Association, and their designs are beautiful. We'll show you the ALCA winning yards. Then, you may not think of soil compost being an art, but one guy in Phoenix has created a blend that people clamor to get for their plants. Plus, meet the plant guru. He takes ordinary plants to create extraordinary works of art. That's all coming up on Step Outside. We're here, pretty high up on the mountain, somewhere in Paradise Valley, at these magnificent gardens and home. That was built by Enchanted Garden Landscape. And with us is Donna Winters. How you doing, Donna?
Pleasure to meet you.
And I understand that you won the highest award given by ALCA, the Presidential Award for this project.
We're very proud of that as an organization. It demonstrates what we believe it to be significant about the work that we do and to the standards that we hold for the work that we do. We've created an experience that leads from the driveway
down at the street. Yeah, I noticed there's no big scar for the road coming up here. Yeah.
Exactly. That really speaks to the character of the home. And then we organize a sequence of layers till we get up here into the auto court.
Which doesn't look like a parking lot, but it's a great people place, like a plaza almost.
Exactly. We wanted a human scale to it. And because of its vastness, we try to do large groupings of plant materials to have great impact on the space. Because of the size of the house, scale's important, so we wanted to really be impactful in the layering and creating these spaces.
Well, you know, there's so many things I see here, but I hear this water feature and I see a glimpse. You're almost teasing me. We've got to go up there and take a look.
Can't wait to show you.
Okay.
Right.
Donna, one of the things I love is, of course, the sound of this water, and the closer you get to it, the louder it is, but it really echoes nicely throughout all these breezeways and part of the house.
You bet, and it kind of changes the microclimate in these spaces.
You know, you don't hardly get a sense of how massive it is until you're standing right up next to it.
Absolutely. The scale of this thing is 42 foot tall, 70 foot long, with pockets interspersed for plant material throughout. And it's a whole infrastructure that was required to put this all together and make sure we could sustain it.
But I'll bet you have thousands of tons of boulders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And great care was taken to be sure that they were an authentic match to the materials that were naturally on site. In order to create an integration of the home and the landscape, color, texture, all of that matters. So we really take pride in making sure that they do integrate in that fashion.
Well, that's a massive project, an engineering feat. But I understand you have a really intimate little chef's garden over here.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to show you.
Show me. Donna, you know, I really love this space. It's so quiet and tight and intimate with the mountain background, the breeze coming through. Can't hardly hear the water, but I can't hear the city either. It's just a really nice, intimate space.
It's a real sanctuary back here. It was one of the spaces I was looking forward to a lot because of the intimacy of the scale, the ability to rest on the boulders, to be in a lush setting. This is the chef's garden when we have herbs and tucked into nooks and crannies, and so that they can actually use those on a day-to-day basis when they're here.
Well, it's a great place just to come and sit here and meditate or read a book and just kind of get away from it all.
Delightful, isn't it?
Yeah. Now I understand you have a space that's almost the exact opposite of this, which is by the pool with a fire pit and just this huge expansive view.
The grandeur of the space is amazing, and the views forever.
Let's go look at that.
All right, let's go.
Donna, this space is exactly the opposite of the chef's garden. We're right out here exposed to the whole world, but the view is phenomenal.
The view is outstanding, the relationship to the mountain, and the grandeur of this space required, again, a sense of scale with the plantings and also the furniture, the elements like the fire pit. All of those things were important. We tried to keep a lusher feel back here because of its being refined and elegant space, but we tried to interject some desert types of plantings also to add some additional color and performance in the rhythms and patterns that we created.
It looks Looks like you can get 10, 12 people around here.
Easily.
Yeah.
That was the requirement, and they've got 10 chairs here.
Now I understand there's some other good patio and pool spaces, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. But first, let's get the dirt on a valley man who's creating some top-notch compost. There's a hidden gem tucked away off the 101 and Thomas Road in Scottsdale. It's a 20-acre property known as Sing Farms.
This is my idea, to create healthy vegetables, healthy herbs, use nature's system, and no chemicals.
Their compost is sought after by many Arizona residents.
And if you balance the soil, it should have all the minerals, everything that our body needs in the soil, so that when we uptake that vegetable, it gives us health and life.
Owner Ken Singh has researched what makes good organic compost. He says it's his ability to let the compost age and absorb all the nutrients that makes it so rich.
Compost is a combination of what's called carbon and nitrogen. Carbon is anything brown, nitrogen is anything green. And so what I do is I add layers of diversity, and for example, bat guano, worm castings, chelated minerals, all these things I put in my soil to create the levels of diversity that will create the energy to create healthy, high soluble sugars. Eventually they all bind together to create what's called the soil food web. And in this soil food web is where energy transfers. As they die, they release energy to the plant. And what I'm trying to do is create that diversity of those microbes, because it's the microbes that give soil the integrity to give us growth. Now in my particular farm, I cook twice. I cook it to 160 to begin with to kill Salmonella E. coli. Then I run it through my grinders again, because the first pieces are bigger. You need more oxygen to create the microbes. Then I regrind it. Then the next cooking, I cook between 152 and 156, because that's where most microbes are created.
Singh hears from many of his customers about the difference his compost makes in their gardens.
But the first thing, folks, is have patience. First year, your garden will produce. Second year, you'll be a genius giving it to your neighbors, because the soil is building. It takes 1 to 3 years to change the dynamics of soil.
Singh Farms is only open on Saturdays. You can get the compost and also visit their farmers market. Coming up on Step Outside, art takes on a whole new meaning in the hands of the plant guru. We'll show you some of his beautiful creations. And we give you a tour of another winning landscape design that has cozy written all over it.
Join STEM Journal's host Jeff Notkin from Meteorite Men as he searches Arizona for scientific discoveries from ancient ruins to futuristic labs and places in between. Enjoy his adventures each week on the STEM Journals, only on Cox 7.
Welcome back to Step Outside. We're here in North Phoenix with Mike Robertson, the owner of Sustainscape. And Mike, this beautiful backyard won an ALCO award, didn't it?
Yes, correct.
What category?
Award of distinction for residential under $25,000.
Boy, you got a lot in this backyard for that little bit of money.
Crammed it in, yeah, it's good.
What was here before you started?
Just the typical grass, Arizona 80s style landscape. So
Queen
grass,
palms?
Queen palms,
Oh, yeah.
all that high water use stuff. So
And what was it the owners wanted to achieve back here?
they wanted the desert, basically. They're part-time residents from Colorado. They didn't want that. They wanted low water, low maintenance, and desert landscape.
Now, I noticed that there's a very narrow access to this backyard. That must have been real fun getting stuff in and out, huh?
Yeah, a little tricky. A lot of wheelbarrows, a lot of hard labor, dollies, and big boulders, heavy equipment. No heavy equipment here, but just
So how'd you get the
manpower.
boulders back here?
Rolling them. We roll them on stakes. A couple in the wheelbarrows, but the big ones you got to roll with the stakes, and kind of Egyptian style, you know. One
So,
on the other.
low maintenance, definitely the hardscape helps with that.
Correct.
And I love what you've done. The pavers, you installed all of those too.
Correct.
And you've kind of created at least 3 different little outdoor room areas. I see an area for dining, a nice little area with a fire pit, and then an area kind of for lounging just off the covered patio here. Plus you got a great fountain for some great noise back there.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of separated out for different uses. Just opens up their whole inside of their house to, like an extra room outside.
So Mike, everything in this backyard looks pretty new, except for that fountain. That looks kind of old. Where'd you get that?
Yeah, we used a Cantera stone. It's a soft, natural stone out of Mexico. Can be carved and, kind of gives a pretty aged look pretty quick, so.
And then you just have a pump and a little float valve in there or something to make
pump
it look...
and autofill. And then when it's on, the clients like to open their doors and it echoes through the whole house. Real kind of peaceful, tranquil.
Plus it blocks out all the background noise of the city, huh?
Exactly, definitely, yeah.
And the maintenance is definitely low with both the decomposed granite and kind of your palette of plants. Why don't you just explain some of the plants that you've got here?
Yeah, sure. We got some like gopher plant, succulents, euphorbias.
I love that plant. That actually works very well up in northern Arizona too. It doesn't suffer from the cold climate.
Very diverse plant, yeah. Got some globe mallows. They got some great seasonal colors. Oranges and pinks, different colors. Of course, you got to have the bougainvillea in Arizona.
Well,
year-round color, kind of nice.
Works to cover the walls really well. And then you got a lot of different cacti in here, huh?
Sure, correct, yeah. We got some Argentine giants, some Moroccan mounds.
Twisted cereus.
Mexican fence post.
Golden barrels, some agaves.
Right, yeah. Got kind of a mixture of stuff, so.
Well, those are great because they add a real kind of sculptural quality, in the garden. They're almost like sculptures, living sculptures themselves, and they kind of change as they grow.
Exactly right, yeah. And then you don't have to trim them.
Well, you've really created a beautiful backyard and put a lot of punch into a tiny little space. I really appreciate you showing it to us today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, let's take a look at another great designer who's known as the plant guru. When most of us look at plants, we think about putting them in pots or in the ground, but not Joe Zazera. He thinks vertical.
Well, living wall basically is a vertical structure mounted to a wall or mounted to a substrate. And it differs from a trellis system in that the plants are all set off the ground into some sort of substrate, whether that be organic or inorganic material. And the plants grow typically, when I design them in some sort of pattern so that they make some sort of sense.
Besides vertical green walls, this plant designer focuses on all types of designs, both commercial and residential, with his company, Plant Solutions.
Our primary business is that we design and install living plants indoors, and then we provide a maintenance program for our clients. About 80% of our clients are commercial clients, and we'll see office building lobbies and restaurants. And our secondary client is our residential, and we, obviously with our showroom here, we have a lot of residential clients that we bring in here and kind of show them some of the things that we do.
Zazera is known as the plant guru because of his creative and outside-the-box thinking when it comes to using plants in design. And it has earned him a Master of the Southwest title.
That was a total surprise, first of all. I mean, I had no idea, to be grouped in with, people like Joan Barron and Maine Kratz, it's just unbelievable. For me, it's, it feels like, well, why me? Because I'm just a guy from Phoenix, But it meant a lot to me.
Zazera's designs are a sight to behold and are more like art than plantings. This arrangement of golden barrel cacti are picture perfect when hung on the wall and framed. Something so simple, yet original.
I think the barrel cactus design stems from my idea or my need for having things logically and orderly placed. And so there's something about, the barrel cactus in a repeating pattern that just really, it's simple, but yet it's sophisticated. And I've done a bunch of them since then because they've become, people are very attracted to them.
It's a passion for his work and attention to detail that make all of his projects so breathtaking.
I figured out a way in my life to sort of grab on the things that I'm interested in and really make something, really do something with it. And that, I don't always personally call it passion, but people have said that about me, that when I sort of am interested in something that I just go with it and I run with it, and that, that translates to passion, I guess.
Although design is important, it's the connection he creates with his clients and nature that makes him most proud.
Well, one of my big passions in life is reconnecting people with nature. I mean, that's probably the thing that motivates me and drives me the most. I'm just lucky that I'm in a business where I'm able to where I have the ability to do that.
Next on Step Outside, we show you how a master bedroom patio is transformed with a water feature. And you got rabbits and don't want them? the natural way to get rid of bunnies and make your yard smell great.
Suvita is your life with an Hispanic twist. Watch Suvita each week on Cox 7 as we take you to fun places, meet interesting people, and celebrate Hispanic community, culture, food, music, y más. Suvita, only on Cox 7.
So it's time we answered a viewer email. Somebody wrote in and said they're having a problem with rabbits in the garden, and here's a good example. The rabbits have been totally eating this ice plant, and they've been chewing on the new blooms of the penstemons. The best way, of course, is if you can fence them out. Sometimes you can just fence with some chicken wire around the individual plants. In the case of the penstemons, that would help, because once they grew up, they wouldn't bother them. But the ice plant, they're going to constantly bother. The other solution is to add some plants that kind of repel rabbits, or they at least don't like to eat, like lavender or even rosemary. It's just too aromatic and it kind of repels them away. Or plant plants that are not going to eat at all. This is a great example, this Euphorbia rigida. It's also called gopher plant. They're not going to eat that. It's actually poisonous to them. Duo Design Group has a reputation for creatively working with the natural environment. And with me today is their principal landscape architect, Tracy Adams. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for having me.
So I understand you were charged with working with a relatively small space on this large property. Why don't you set the scene for what was here and what you had to do?
Well, the client was put in a position where they had to do a pretty extensive remodel, which entailed remodeling their bathroom. And they really had this beautiful view to Camelback Mountain, which was the driving factor in developing this patio. But they wanted it to be a special place and a place where they could sit and have private lunch, but also enjoy, like as you can see behind me, this water feature that we developed in the back, that it would be something that would be very special and enjoyable for her while she's at her vanity and taking long lounging tubs.
Kind of creates a really cool vignette to constantly be able to look at.
Absolutely.
But what was here before? You had a little retaining wall or something?
Yeah, the retaining wall that you see behind me, the stone, continued, and so the space, but the walkway between the house and the retaining wall was very narrow. So what we had to do was to peel back the grade to be able to install this beautiful boulder waterfall, and then continue to peel the grade back a little further to enlarge and allow us to have this nice sitting area for her to do private lunches with her girlfriends. And this is really intended to be a private patio.
Now, what were the challenges? I mean, you don't have a lot of access to get to here, do you?
No, we don't. And that was definitely a big challenge. And so we had to access it by the street. And coming up from that area, of course, caused some construction damage, which then we had to go back in and re-veg in a very artful, nice way to make it look really natural. And as you yourself saw, that it was really even impossible to tell that that's where they came from.
You had to create your own road to get up there with the equipment, especially with some of these large boulders. I understand the boulder back there was almost as big as a guy.
Yeah, they called it a small car. So we had to get a pretty nice backhoe in here, and then very creative team that were able to do a combination of pushing and then lifting to get that into place.
Well, the plantings you have here are really pretty. It has a real nice natural feel, but you got some challenges with the wildlife, don't you?
Absolutely. And you know, we've got an issue with the javelina, we've got an issue with the rabbits, and right now we're still in the process of trying to figure out maybe something that would be less appealing to the rabbits. And it seems like for the moment the javelina have decided to visit elsewhere on the property and are not bothering our private garden up here.
Well, I got to tell you, Tracy, the end result here is just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for having us out here.
Yeah, thank you.
Up next, we head back to the gorgeous house with a view to see the spectacular pool and patios. Stick around.
Our precious water supply depends on forest health. The Nature Conservancy is dedicated to restoring our forests in Arizona. Now, in a partnership with Arizona Highways Magazine, the Nature Conservancy is proud to present Arizona Trails. Learn about amazing places to hike in Arizona and see the stories of how the Nature Conservancy is helping to preserve them for people and nature. Find out how you can help. Watch Arizona Trails on Cox7.com, sponsored by the Nature Conservancy.
Welcome back to Step Outside. I'm still here with Donna Winters, reviewing this magnificent estate and gardens, and nothing this grandiose would be complete without the pool.
Absolutely. It's a great family pool. They love to use it. They love to swim laps. They have shallow shells where they can just hang out as a
I see
family.
you got umbrella sleeves in there. So,
Exactly, where they just hang out in the shade or active play in the pool, and they like to do both.
And you got, it's all tile with some great patterns.
Absolutely. It's just really distinctive, as is the home.
You know, one thing I really love that you've done is all these pots, and they're just kind of all over the place, and you've got really interesting plants in a lot of them.
Yeah, what's really excellent, we've got all the Italian clay in these refined spaces to speak to the architecture. All kinds of plants, layering of plants. We have, and we've got every kind of garden. We've got sun gardens, shade gardens. We're able to utilize cacti, house plants.
Well, you kind of had to because you got your own climate here, right?
Yes, we got some very deep.
Being on the
shade.
top of the mountain,
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. So the breeze makes a difference, and we try to acknowledge that in the kind of choices that we placed in these pots.
You know, Donna, the pots do a great job of just defining a lot of different outdoor spaces, but what's the difference between the Italian Impreza terracotta pots and the Mexican terracotta pots?
Well, there's a couple of things that are different. One is the price. They are a more expensive pot, but there's a reason for that. The longevity of the pot, the way it reacts to both heat and cold and temperature extremes.
That's the Italian ones.
That's the Italian ones. The Mexican, they fit that character of the other, area of the yard, but they're not going to last as long. The durability isn't, is much reduced. And we've used the Italian to really create a presence. We have a beautiful variety of selections and styles, and within them we've been able to create some compositions that really complement.
Well, it's really a fantastic project. I really appreciate you letting us come out and take a look at it with you today.
Well, thank you very much. There's a lot of wonderful people that made this happen and that thought that their actions mattered, and this is the result of that.
The result is great. Whether you have a high-end budget or something smaller, you can have an award-winning landscape. When it comes to designing your own yard, do what you like, create what makes you happy, and plant what you love. We hope you got some inspiration from our designers today. Each week on Step Outside, we show you some of the endless possibilities that await you just beyond your door. So come on, step outside and enjoy the view. I'm Pete Curet. See you next time. If you'd like to see more video from Step Outside, go to Cox On Demand, Free Zone, Cox 7. You can see how-to segments, beautiful landscapes, outdoor escapes, and so much more any time of the day, 24/7. That's Cox On Demand, Free Zone, Cox 7.